Warning. The following podcast contains explicit language, honest opinions and a sense of humor. Welcome to the Brothers Take.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers once again, Adam and Eric.
Hello.
Sup?
I said once again, like as if it's going to be someone else. Who's it going to be? And we are back in the room to talk more about video games. And we're still on the DC hype train, because the game that we're going to be discussing today is we're going to be going back to look at Batman Arkham Asylum, which sort of kicked off the modern version of superhero games, I suppose. Like before Arkham Asylum, there might have been certain games that you liked, but generally, superhero games had a very bad name for
reputation.
Themselves. They had a very bad reputation. Bar, I would say, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 was the one to kind of break that mold in the first place. I would think maybe there's another one out there that people can think of, but that one in particular was kind of well received. And then if any other game, it came down to you might like it, but really then it was sort of an underdog kind of thing. Like most people did not, and in the wider world, like there's a Superman game and it's notoriously infamous, like, you know. I think it's just you fly through rings and shit. It might have had a slight movie tie-in. I can't remember which one it is, but generally not received well. So when Batman Arkham Asylum was first coming out, which is 11 years old this year, people did not think much of it as it was coming out. People did not have a lot of faith in it. It was originally supposed to be a Dark Knight game, as in a tie-in with the movie, and then that got scrapped, and then Rocksteady started working on this original idea instead. And then I think it surprised everyone. I think it fucking surprised everyone. But yeah, look, we won't talk around the preamble too much. We'll get straight into it, basically. This whole discussion is going to be spoiler-filled. The game has been out a very long time, and so the assumption is that you've at least played the game, are familiar with the game, or you don't care and you just want to listen to a couple of guys talk about Batman Arkham Asylum. But as we're talking, if you have thoughts on the game yourself or on any of the things that we bring up, please do jump into the comments if you're watching on YouTube to let us know what you think. And then you can also get in touch on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Brothers Take if you're listening to us on audio platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. That's enough talking shite. Let's do this shit. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to The Brothers Take. And if you've been here before, welcome to the Madhouse. Let's talk Arkham Asylum. Okay, so, do you guys remember getting the demo for this game?
Of course, yeah. I still remember demos being a thing. Those were the golden
demos
age.
are still a thing.
That was still a thing. We had a Final Fantasy VII Remake demo.
Yeah,
there was a Resident Evil 3 demo.
Some companies are still faithful to release demos, but a lot of them are like, it'd be fine. They know what to get. It's like, no, we don't.
Back then it was the same. Like there wasn't really demos, and so it was kind of a surprise to get this Arkham Asylum demo.
Why do you think we got the demo?
Well, it was probably like what you just said, that, you know, people... the idea of there being a Batman game, because I wasn't interested, just because of previous attempts. Like, they've never been good. The only really good, apart from Spider-Man 2, the only really good superhero games, I think, have been kind of fighting games, like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Or even the Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Remember that game?
Yeah,
they were good, actually. I should have given them a shout out.
So like when it's like the fighting ones are okay, I guess. But kind of an action adventure superhero game, there really wasn't anything that lived up. So I think a demo was absolutely necessary, and the demo was was really good because it just picked this perfect moment to kind of showcase the fear factor that they're trying to bring into the game. The fact that you are essentially a predator, hunting down these villains or the bad guys, and you could see that they're with your X-ray vision and stuff, you could see their heart rate going up, and the more and more you take out, they become more fearful and making stupid decisions and stuff.
I love that comes up as well. Like, it'll tell you cautious, and then it might tell you like, and by the time you have the last person, and they're acting more erratically and just shooting at anything, and like it'll say terrified in their heart rate, and you're just like, I did that. I did that.
And you're just like swinging around on gargoyles, going shit.
Yeah, you're terrified as well. You're like, oh, please don't see me, please don't see me. Eric, what did you think of the demo when you first played it?
Well, I think Adam pretty much covered the whole thing. It was amazing because they did pick a good moment to give you a good feel of Batman and what the game is without having to spoil anything, and it nearly played out exactly the same way, when you actually play the game. But it was just they edited it quite well as well. That anything they didn't want spoiled within that section, because I think the section you play is longer in the game, so they edited it well that you get enough of what you need to get to understand the game without ever spoiling everything there was to spoil within that section. I think they did a very good job and a fantastic demo. I miss demos. I
played that demo like over and over and over again, and there was nothing new to see really, but I don't know what it was. I just fell in love with it. Everything from the free flow combat counter system to the predator mode on the gargoyles and coming up with different ways to take down these guys. And I remember replaying that sequence just to see, because the first time I did, I played it very safe. I was like, stick to the gargoyles and do inverted takedowns and that kind of thing. And then I remember like the next time I was like, oh, this time I should try this, and this time I should try that, and I get bolder and bolder with it. By the time the game came out, I was, by the time I got to that sequence, I was like, wait till you see what I'm gonna do. But yeah, and then this setting as well. What a genius setting.
Yeah, and just the art style and everything. Like, and I'm sure we'll get into that with more of the game. But I do think that's like what you're saying about being able to do the free flow and the takedowns, the multiple ways you can tackle that demo. Like, that's how you do a good fucking demo.
Yeah.
Like, instead of this like on rails experience, just kind of, just giving you a taste of what may be the story, but like it did that as well. But you could play that demo over and over again and try different things, and just to get a taste of like, well, what are the different possibilities in gameplay? I think that's really important when it comes to a game.
Yeah. Well, are you crazy? And I remember when the demo ended, and it ended with the first reveal at a Titan, right? Which at the time no one knew what that was, because that whole plot point hadn't been revealed or anything. So I remember like there was loads of YouTube speculation videos on who this character was, right? Because no one even knew that it was going to be a reoccurring enemy. And I was like pulling out from the DC universe, like, oh, maybe it's this guy or maybe it's that guy. They're not really a Batman villain. It's kind of strange. Why would they throw that villain in there? But I remember every time it ended, I was like, please don't end. Like, I want to keep going. Like, I just want to keep playing. I ended up pre-ordering the special edition, which came with like this big Batarang and a notebook with all the villains in it and everything. And yeah, I think we should put it out there. I don't know, maybe we all feel slightly differently about this game. I fucking love this game. I absolutely love Arkham Asylum. I think it's one of the best PS3 games. It's one of the best games. I don't know how big that list is, but it should be up there. Whether it's top 20 or whatever, this is an incredible game. So I wonder what we should delve into first. Let's delve into the setting first. Arkham Asylum itself, picking that setting, taking you away from, because I played a little bit of, there was another Batman game. My friend had it on the Xbox, and I can't think of the name to it. It had Kevin Conner as well. It was done with Batman animated series visuals.
Oh yeah.
Out of the Shadows or something like that. Someone please correct me on that if you know. And I had like Mark Hamill voice actor and everything. Like, I had the same cast essentially, but it was set in Gotham and it was done kind of episodically. And I think every Batman game before that was pretty much set in Gotham, because you would think like if you're gonna play as Batman, you want to be doing the streets of Gotham. So in a way, this setting was kind of bold. to go, let's limit him to Arkham Asylum. But fuck me, was it genius.
Yeah, well, it's kind of based a little bit on the comic, isn't it? Well, there's a couple of comics that's based on, but the Grant Morrison one, the Serious House on Serious Earth.
Yeah.
The fact that Batman's brought in, there's kind of the lunatics have taken over the asylum, and he's taken on different villains and bosses, and there's other kind of a huge story arc revealing that, which becomes kind of a secret story in the game, which is Amadeus Arkham.
Yeah, they do the whole Spirit of Arkham thing.
Yeah,
which is a really cool side story that that actually then plays into. It turns out after the fact, very cleverly, that it turns out it's a tease for the next game as well. It plays into the next game, as well as a couple of other teases of this. Sorry to go off topic now, but the Easter eggs in this game.
I think they're the best out of all of them. I think they're the best in this one.
I agree.
Because I found because I'm not like, you know, I consider myself a big Batman fan, but I don't know everything about Batman. What I know comes from a few what we would consider graphic novels, I guess. I know that term is like a bit silly because they're all comics, but it's kind of standalone stories.
Yes, yeah.
Those are the kind of stories I know. I don't know the running line, and I also don't know the other DC stuff. So what I liked about Arkham Asylum was that they weren't really obvious, but they also weren't like, you don't have to be a fucking like an expert in DC to try and figure them out or look for them. And I found as the series went on, it became a little bit more kind of, you need to know your shit, I think.
Right, okay.
And I think in Asylum, there's a nice balance between, here's something for people who know their shit, but for those who don't know it, here's a little bit of extra, and we'll give you lore on it, and you'll learn as you play the game. I really appreciated that.
Eric, how did you feel about all the kind of Easter eggs and stuff that were all over the map in Arkham Asylum?
Well, like what Adam was saying with the whole lore thing, I think having almost, because obviously there's a few that you can just kind of find, you're like, oh, that's a reference. But the Riddler, we're really going off topic now because we're starting on the fucking sentence. Now we're on Riddler.
We're going to jump everywhere.
So we're now jumping on the Riddler. So Riddler has placed all these little challenges around the place, and particular areas have particular riddles, and you have to solve them. And that each solution is a reference to a particular villain or a particular thing. And that's how you can learn about Batman's wide roster of villains and characters. I thought that was really good. And then using like the comic book art style, when you go into like your codex or your archives or whatever it is that they call them, and you look at all the villains. So they had like for Catwoman, they would have used the comic book art style for Catwoman, for the Joker, and which I thought was really, really cool. So I really liked that stuff. And like, there was also a really clever way to have the Riddler in it without being another villain to fight. You know what I mean? Just again trying to outsmart you and stuff.
Yes, I thought it was very clever not to make Riddler working with the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I just don't see them two working together.
But a lot of it as well, like none of the villains are necessarily working with each other, are they? Because they're all just like, they're loose, and they all just want to take out Batman.
Yeah, like there's certainly an element to that. But I suppose I like the idea of Riddler being this loner who's just fucking up Batman, and I think they just utilized him really well in this game.
Yeah.
And all those collectibles. Yeah, I think we were all fans of the Batman character growing up, from the animated series, from Tim Burton's Batman. Obviously, we were aware of the Adam West Batman. That wasn't really our thing. That was more of our parents' kind of a thing. But we all liked Batman. I'll admit that when I was younger, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero. And Batman was number 2, I would say, right, when I was younger. And really, my knowledge of the character came purely from the cartoons and from the movies. Like, I was absolutely convinced that because in Tim Burton's version, the Joker killed Bruce Wayne's parents. That's the way it goes. Like, that's the story, right? Like, so I remember when I first saw Batman Begins, right? Like a fucking idiot. I thought that film was supposed to be a prequel to the Tim Burton movie, right? Because I was like, they were all called Batman and something that comes after it, you know, where it's like Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins. I was like, cool, we're gonna see him become Batman. They're going back, and obviously they had to recast him, and that's fine. They've done that before. And I was like, and there's 2 new villains who we hadn't seen in the other one, so you know, it's canon, it fits in. But then I saw all these things. I was like I remember I saw Joe Chill, and I was like,
that's not right.
The fucking Joker? I was like, that guy's not the Joker. What? And then he died and everything, and I was like, nah, they fucked this up, man. I actually came out of Batman Begins the first time, which, by the way, I have to say now, is a phenomenal movie, and I love it. But the first time it came out, because I was looking at it under that lens, I came out going, they fucked it up, man. They fucked it up. Like, they don't know what they're doing. You know, the continuity is all over the place. Until I realized it was its own thing, and then I was able to watch it and go, holy shit, this is amazing, right? And then The Dark Knight gave me this new appreciation for the relationship between Batman and the Joker. A comic book called The Long Halloween got me really interested in the actual comic books. And then Batman Arkham Asylum is the game that turned me into a hardcore Batman fan. And now he's like my favorite character ever. And I fuck loads of comics, and I know way more about the character now. I'm not as fucking like naive as I used to be. I actually know, I've checked out my shit. And it was learning about, I already liked Batman. I already liked the Batmobile, and I already liked all that stuff. It was learning about this larger cast of rogues that I'd never heard of, because they hadn't been in movies, and some of them hadn't been in the cartoons. There was this whole slew of like even like a character like and at the time I hadn't read the Hush comic book I have now, but like I was like, who's this Hush guy? And I ended up looking him up then. I was like, oh, he's really interesting. Or Prometheus. And I was like, wow, he should, I'd love to see him in a film. And there was all these other characters where I was like fucking hell. And then even beyond that, there's much more than that. Like Arkham Asylum didn't show you all of them. There's way more. And I think
that's what I
ludicrous.
really appreciate about Arkham Asylum is that the villains they chose for it, like they do hint at other ones as well. Like as you go through, you can see the like Catwoman's equipment, Penguin's equipment. Like those are 2 that you kind of almost expect to be in the game. But the few they chose, like I got some serious Metal Gear Solid vibes off of Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
The idea that you're going into this one facility, you're going back and forth between it to get new equipment. There's these boss fights, but the bosses are there to... the encounters enhance the story. They bring the story forward. Like, they're there for specific reasons. They're well chosen. They're not just like, and here's just another random boss fight. They're really weaved into the story really well. And just throughout, like even the way the game plays out in terms of the picking up the tapes and all that kind of stuff to get the backstory of different villains and shit like that. Like it works so well because you are in an asylum, so it would make sense that there's tapes kind of recording and learning about each of these characters. Like it's just genius, this game.
Yeah, no, like they picked the perfect concept really for a Batman game, and as well, and then it makes sense that your space is limited. Like if you build a Gotham City from the straight away, like I think as well they were smart in terms of like if this turns into like if we're lucky enough that we could turn this into a series, like now we have somewhere to grow towards in terms of expanding and getting bigger, right? Whether people like that or not, but if you start with Gotham, like I kind of think that about like the Spider-Man game, for example, which I think is amazing. And you'd be wrong to limit them because you're like, well, the Spider-Man thing is to be swinging around New York. Yep. But at the same time, what do you do for the second one?
Yeah, a little weird.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
you swing around the country? You
Does
know,
New
and
York,
then for the third one, you string them on
like,
the
do
road.
you make a bigger New York that looks totally different?
Well, there are other
For the
islands, isn't
sake
there?
of a game? Yeah, I suppose there are. But
But yeah, you're just on the island of Manhattan, aren't you?
Yeah.
For the first one.
I think so.
But then do you take yourself away from Manhattan so you don't get the Empire State Building, or do you just keep Manhattan as it was built and add another island?
Yes, that one.
It's just interesting. But yeah, let's talk about the voice cast for this game.
That's one thing. Like the reason this one's actually my favorite out of the entire Arkham series. Just because I do think it's just really well constructed, but the overall aesthetics, not just the voice actors, but the aesthetics match the cartoons.
Mhm.
They're a little different, but they do match them.
Yeah.
So having the voice actors from the animated series, not all of them, but the two main ones at least,
Yeah.
really match the visuals. And I think that's something that they lost in the next few games, is that they started to go a little bit more down the kind of movie aesthetics, like trying to make them look realistic and grounded and stuff like that. Whereas with the first one, you have the traditional grey suit, and then the Joker also looks like how he does in
Yeah.
pick a comic. That's how he looks.
Yeah.
And like with Scarecrow as well, he's really comic booky as opposed to how he appears in Arkham Knight.
Fucking love Scarecrow's design.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, picking those two, like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as the main voice actors, like, what a genius decision. And I'm so glad they did. Like, they agreed to come on board.
Yeah. No, definitely. Eric, how do you feel about? I mean, let's be honest. I say the voice actors. We're talking about Kevin Conroy
and Mark Hamill. Yeah, we're talking about them, and they really bring it to life. You know what I mean? Because again, like, yeah, we watched the cartoons and everything, but I didn't really watch a lot of them, or at least don't really remember a lot of them. So for me, the Arkham series was really kind of my first time experiencing them. Like, really acknowledging Kevin Conroy as Batman, really acknowledging Mark Hamill as the Joker. And it's also great to watch them now be able to go that step further with them, because obviously in the cartoons they're a little bit limited. Batman can't be too Batman-y because it's the cartoons meant for kids. Joker can't be too lunacy, like a maniac because of because it was for kids and everything. But then just being able to watch Joker, Mark Hamill, really being able to unleash himself in this fucking crazy setting.
Yeah.
And you have Batman like Kevin Conroy really bringing Batman to be this strong, stoic, calculated character. And it's just great when he's like his first talking. When they just both first talk, it's fucking amazing. So I think like they really bring the game to life, and their performances are just so entertaining. Just them conversing with each other, like even Mark Hamill's intercoms throughout the whole game.
They're fantastic.
The intercoms that he has are so good.
He's so entertaining.
So, yeah. So
Isn't it weird? I think it's weird. I don't know about you guys. Like, I know some people would like kind of overconfident protagonists, right? I tend to really dislike them. And yet, for some reason, Kevin Conroy gets away with it. I don't know why. Like, when he voice acts a super confident line as Batman, saying, like, it's like, so what are you gonna do? I think you're in trouble. And he's like, I'll be fine. Just like, yeah, you will, because you're fucking Batman. I don't know what it is. He just gets away with the.
He doesn't sound so douchey when he says it.
But he kind of does, though, doesn't he? Maybe
no,
not.
But it's down to like.
I think
but it's because he has the skills and the years behind him. Like, he's dealt with them before, and that he has calculated everything, rather than being like this show off. Yeah, cool, woohoo! Use a motorbike, do the Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I think that is the difference. Is like, because even through gameplay as well, you can see that he's very capable. I think the difference between Batman being cocky or whatever and any other character is that Batman can actually live up to what he says.
Yeah, yeah.
But other characters, it's like they almost have to say they're a badass because they haven't got enough time to show you they are, or something like that. It's just like, take my word for it, I'm really, really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's not enough character development. There's not enough, like, actually experiencing it and seeing him take on these characters. But like with Batman, like you are like going against incredible odds, yet you fuck him up.
It's so interesting though, because like if you take a character like Solid Snake, he's a badass because of the way everyone else talks about him, and he nearly brushes it off. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Batman, he's the one telling you, I'm a badass and I can do this. And yet, like in a way, in a game, you possibly don't want that to happen because you're like, well, the feeling of a challenge is gone. But yeah, in that game, it works because you're just like, yeah, I fucking am. Let's do this shit. And you know what I mean? And like it's strange.
Yeah,
how it
it's
works.
so well balanced in terms of like there still is challenge,
Yeah.
but at the same time you don't feel like powerless.
No. Yeah.
It like, dude, it makes you feel like the Batman.
That's that thing that a lot of people hate to hear, isn't it?
It's
Makes you
true
feel
though.
like
Like I
people.
mean,
It does. That's their whole mantra.
Yeah,
We're gonna make
like
it
yeah,
feel
if
like
you're
Batman.
when you're playing on the harder difficulties and you're dying all the time, it's a bit like, well, now I'm not Batman. Now I'm just a gamer. Now I'm just a guy playing as Batman, but I'm not actually Batman.
So I'm gonna
Batman
craft this
wouldn't die
game so I
right here.
become Batman.
if you
Yeah.
learn, well, that just makes you like kind of master his combos and stuff like that, and when you get them down, you do feel like an absolute badass.
Yeah. So I never actually said what I thought about Kevin Conroy. I think at this point is the voice that I hear when I read a comic, and lots of people have said it, but it's true. It's hard not to. And as well, like I know there's plenty of amazing actors that have played Batman, and they do incredible Batman voices and stuff, and not to take away from them, but it's just the voice alone, like Kevin Conroy's voice, that deep dark place that he goes to, that sounds natural, that doesn't sound like it's just something that's put on by someone. It just works for Batman. I don't know why he like he said himself in interviews, like he himself wasn't like a big Batman fan. All he knew about Batman was the Adam West Batman. But he just looked at the script and just went, right, okay, so I'm someone whose parents have died, so I need to go into it like a dark place inside myself. And he just found that voice, and it just worked because it came from an honest place of that, as opposed to thinking of, oh my god, how can I top this actor, or what Batman voice could I do differently? He just took it like maybe that helped having no real connection to Batman. Like I don't know, like if you're a big Batman fan, it might be really overwhelming to go, oh, you have to come up with a Batman voice. I don't know what I'm gonna do, as opposed to just take
it's really,
it as
I suppose it's really genuine. Just like kind of shows you how good of a he is as an artist. It kind of reminds you of the story of with Hans Zimmer writing the score to Interstellar. And he just just didn't know what the film was at all, apart from just that it was a relationship between what he thought was a father and son, and just wrote the entire score based on that.
Yeah, that's sick.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like Conroy is just like, as well as his Bruce Wayne voice as well. You can tell it's the same person, but it doesn't feel like either of them are being put on.
No.
There's almost like a Smeagol Gollum situation going on. It's like you can absolutely tell it's the same thing.
What's interesting is, at least I find, maybe people don't feel the same way, I do find that you can hear in his work, and it's very clear, and he's doing it on purpose, that even though the Bruce Wayne voice is closer to his normal voice, like if you hear him in an interview, that's actually closer. That one feels fake, and the Batman one feels authentic. Am I the only one that thinks that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think his Bruce Wayne sounds real put on, in a way, even though it's closer to his real voice. And
like within the context of looking and knowing Bruce Wayne and Batman, yeah, his Bruce Wayne does seem more put on because it's so, like when Kevin Conroy talks, it's not put on because it's Kevin Conroy's voice. But when you know that Bruce Wayne is who he is, it absolutely does sound put on because it's just too happy and
I mean that in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's
kind of
really
like,
good.
because obviously with the film versions of Batman, like with Bale, it's so obvious that his Batman voice is put on.
Yes.
Whereas with Conroy, like I don't. It doesn't sound like either of them are being put on to me. It just kind of sounds like you know, like everyone has like almost two different voices. You know, when you had to, like, as a kid, you had to fucking like go up to the top of the altar and do a reading for the entire school. Like everyone's fucking voice changes. Everyone always ends up with like a really weird voice.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think everyone has that. Everyone has like a voice that they have when they're them, and a voice that comes on like
When
without
they're
even
sort of being professional or something.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show like well, Batman is two different characters. There's like the not real him, Bruce Wayne, and the real him, Batman.
Yes.
And I think that voice isn't being kind of put on, but rather when he's not being himself, it changes. And I think that's really fascinating.
I think he captures it perfectly.
Yeah.
Is really what I'm trying to say. I think he captures the fact that Batman is the real him and Bruce Wayne is the mask, which is something that many people have brought up, but I think he, with those two voices, he captures it perfectly. Because there is like, and you'll see like in a lot of the animated series or animated movies, like once he takes the cowl off, he still has the same Batman voice. Or when he's just at home at Alfred, he still has the same Batman voice. It's only when he's out in public that this Bruce Wayne voice comes on. Do you know what I mean? And it's fantastic. So good. And then as for Mark Hamill, oh my God. Again, it's the voice I hear when I read a comic with the Joker in it. I can't help it. Ever since I heard it, it's so good. His Joker voice is so good, and his many different Joker laughs. I don't know how he came up with it. Now, he, on the other hand, was a big Batman fan and was so sure he was never going to get this role. I think he asked for any role at all. He was like, yeah, I think he, Luke Skywalker wants to be in our show. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine that? He was like, I'll play anyone. I'll literally play anyone.
That's great.
Yeah. And then he ended up getting the Joker, and he fucking crushed it. And he crushes it in these games. And I agree with it. Something you touched on, Eric. People might have a favorite Mark Hamill performance. I think he's at his best in the Arkham games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he thinks that, because I've seen interviews with them, and like the way they record the games, they record on their own in a booth. Whereas when they record animated shows and movies, they tend to record together. And so they bounce off each other, and they find that more enjoyable. However, in these games, and it's not just this first one, it's the 3 games that he does. I just feel like because they're little, like you said, Eric, they're not the cartoons, they can be a little bit edgier. You get to see that same Mark Hamill, but he can let loose a little bit, and he can say things that, you know, maybe he shouldn't say, or he can be a lot darker. And as a result, I mean, I know it's different to like a physical performance, but it's got to be the best damn fucking rendition of the Joker I've ever seen.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that says a lot about it as well, is that it does not just sound like, obviously it's the same fucking voice, but even in terms of how the dialogue, the beats in which it's being said, it does sound exactly like the one from the cartoon, even though he is darker. He is a lot darker. But it doesn't sound like it's like, whoa, Jesus, where did this character come out of? All of a sudden he's real dark. Like, it's that transition is really, really good. It doesn't feel out of place.
And he's fucking hilarious. Which is like the Joker should be, right? Like, he made me genuinely laugh throughout this game and the other games. And yet as well, if it was a real person, I would hate to meet him.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, like he's horrifying. He is a terrifying character. He's a terrifying force, but he is funny and he is charismatic. And you kind of, every time he comes on screen, you're delighted to see him in this fictional setting. Like, they just balance the Joker so incredibly well. And I suppose the running theme of the Arkham games is the relationship between the Batman and Joker. And I think they touch on something really special with it. You know, and other things have done it before. It's not like they're the first to do it. Like, it's been done in comics and it's been done in movies and it's been done all over the place. But they touch on something really special in the Arkham series between Batman and Joker, I think. Okay, let's get into the story.
Back to the setting.
let's get back to the setting. Where were we? Let's go back a few panels. The story itself. How do you guys feel about the overall story, the overarching plot? Next topic.
Really good. 10 out of 10. Let's go.
Do it again. Would do it again. They did it again.
Do it plenty times. Yeah, it's an incredible story. It again, it's like nothing feels kind of just forced in, and I kind of felt that as the series kind of went on. It's like shit. Yeah, we gotta bring in a new villain, and how are we gonna bring him in? Sure, fuck it. We'll just throw it into a side quest. Be grand. Nothing in this felt like a side quest, and even though there are like the Riddler stuff, which is essentially a side quest. There's something about this game, like, you know, we've discussed it before, especially with RPGs, is that when there's like a threat, and you see this like, I better go follow this dog and see what he's talking about, kind of a shit going on. It's like, should I really, like, I mean, I should probably get on with this and sort this stuff out. There's something about, like, this really works in Batman. When he has, like, he's wanting to take down the Joker, but then another villain comes along and he's got, like, Zaz as someone hostage and shit. Batman would absolutely stop what he's doing to save that girl or save that person.
He's very immediate.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't take it otherwise. He'll go, no, fuck it. There's there's fucking 68,000 hours in a day, and I can actually solve all this. Like, he doesn't fucking sleep, this dude. Like, he will make sure that everything is all grand. Yeah. And he has enough energy to pick himself up and keep going with the main threat. And I think they just balanced it really well in this, in terms of, like, all the different interactions you have with different characters in this story. And it never slows down. There's not a single moment where this game slows down. It just keeps on going. Like, I can't recall ever putting the controller down. I probably just burst through this entire game. Like, obviously I took breaks, but I had to kind of force myself to take breaks. There's no kind of obvious moment where I'm like, okay, I'll turn it off now.
Yeah, there's kind of no downtime, really. No. It's well paced, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really well paced. How about you, Eric? How do you feel about the story?
I mean, I'm sure we've all played games or seen films or TV shows where you have this big thing, build it up, and then you find the reveal, and you're kind of like, oh, that's it. That's the reveal. Like, that's why everything happened. That's a bit lame. But somehow, with this game, big build up. What's the Joker doing? Why does he want this? And it's all for a gag. And it's like, you know what? That's Joker. That's Joker in a nutshell. That's fucking brilliant. Like, that's. I mean, it just wants to cause a bit of mayhem. And he just has this wide, big fucking plan. He goes on, he like learns chemistry just for the sake of this fucking bit of mayhem. I was like, that's the Joker. Like, you know what I mean? Just doing things for the crack. That's it. Just to watch Batman be defeated or not defeated. It doesn't matter because it's the Joker. So I just think, like, there has been a few games where you're trying to, like, a big conspiracy or something, and it's just nothing by the end of it. But with this, because the Joker, they were able to do that. They were kind of able to go, well, actually, all of this mayhem was just that. It was just mayhem, because that's what the Joker likes, which I really liked and thought was good. And then, like Adam said, the implementation of, like, having to go down into the sewers to get particular samples of Ivy's plants or something like that, so you can synthesize some sort of cure or something against a particular thing, and that down there is Killer Croc, or you have to go to Poison Ivy to try to get help or something. You know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. Like, they really implemented it well, and it was all, every time you went somewhere, it was all based around trying to fight this Titan virus that the Joker was making, which I think was really good.
I got, like, some slight Resident Evil vibes from this game, as well as the, like, I got the Metal Gear Solid thing, and I do compare to that. But no, the kind of setting of this haunted mansion, and the whole plot resolved around kind of this new virus that turns people into these giant monsters, and some of the boss fights felt kind of Resident Evil-ish. Particularly the Poison Ivy one kind of reminded me of like just this big, she gets
Code-
picked up inside this
Code-
thing. Actually reminded me of Resi 4.
It reminded me more of Code Veronica.
Oh yeah, something like that either.
Yeah.
In terms of the story, I'm gonna say I think that Rocksteady come up with incredible setups. I think for each of their games, people might feel a bit differently, but I think they come up with incredible setups, incredible settings. They craft really good journeys. I don't think they're very good at ending their story though. And I feel that with each of the games. Not that I think the endings are terrible. I think and some of them are better than others. I think they are good. But I did get that feeling when you get to the end, and I was just like, oh.
Oh, really?
Well, okay then. I don't hate it, but I did think there was because they just keep talking about what's the Joker planning and what's he really up to. And it wasn't really anything in the end. It was just it was just
the Joker though.
I know, it was just a lot of happenings, and you can take that one of two ways. You can be like, yes, that's the Joker, or you can be like, oh, I just really thought I was being set up for something.
Because even with the Dark Knight, set up for nothing really. He just wanted to prove a point. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had a point to prove. I felt like in this one he didn't though.
Well, wasn't he wanting to use the Titan on Batman to
so that
turn him into...
My issue with that being the end game was like, why didn't you just do it earlier?
But it wasn't made yet.
I just feel like that wasn't the plot. I don't think that was the plot.
But it was though.
I think it was just a lot of happenings, but I don't mind that either. That's my honest opinion. But about when you get to the end of the game, I felt like there was even all the fireworks, there was all the guys waiting at party hats. I just thought when I got through that door, yeah, amazing. I thought when I got through that door, there was going to be something else, and not just. Actually, I nearly would have preferred if he had shot Gordon with the thing, and the whole plot was going to be, will you kill Gordon? Maybe that would have been, and then I would have been like, oh, okay, cool, interesting. You're putting Batman in a difficult position with one of his closest allies. Interested.
Well,
but the thing of just trying to turn Batman into a Titan, so that I don't know what he would gain from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's more than that, wasn't there? He was wanting to unleash Titan within the city.
Yeah, that worked for me. I like that.
Yeah, that was. But I think once he had the Titan formula kind of finished off, I guess, because that's why he went back in, wasn't it? It was to finish it.
I get it, yeah.
Kind of figured this would be hilarious giving this to Batman, because he wouldn't be able to control himself, and then he would actually break his one rule, which would be just the best thing ever, according to Joker.
Yeah, some crack.
Yeah.
But anyway, despite all that, the actual journey, yeah, I feel the same way that I think once you start this, you just can't put the controller down. There's always something else around the corner. There's always something else interesting happening. The way they implement all the different characters that are in it is fantastic. I think they break up the pacing in this one so well between now it's time to fight lots of people. Now it's time to do a detective thing. Now it's time to do a predator thing. And nothing ever felt too repetitive. And then even there was other like predator bits where it's like, okay, now let's introduce another thing where it's like, okay, now some of the gargoyles have bombs on them. So you can't just safely stick to the gargoyles. You know what I mean? Or like they'll shake you up. So I think they just paced the journey of this game incredibly well.
Yeah.
And the setup and setting is absolutely perfect for a game. It was just like a match made in heaven. Like, why don't we just take that Arkham Asylum story? And plus, Arkham Asylum is such an interesting place, an interesting setting, and there's all these stories of, is it haunted or isn't it haunted?
Yeah, it's not, and it's never been kind of realized either. Like we always know it's there. We always know the inmates end there, but it's never explored. It's always about Gotham City. It's never about this fucking asylum, which, like, does it actually make its inmates worse?
Which is some of the questions that it brings up, yeah. And I absolutely loved, like, it created a great setting for, obviously you can't overload this with characters, but they could still have, because all the inmates do spend time there, they were able to have all these amazing references to his rogues gallery. And some of the cells were themed. I remember absolutely loving the artistry of Harvey Dent's cell.
Yeah.
is
Split in two, wasn't it?
incredible. Yeah, so there's a blue light coming in on one side, which is totally clean, and then the other side is like red and dark, and it's the side where he carves on the wall and stuff, and he has like it's all messy and chaotic, and just because of the way the moonlight is shining in, and when you look at it, the cell is split in two, and it's just fucking perfect. It's like that's so good, and that's all throughout this. Like even like you find the Riddler cell very early on. There's just like fucking question marks all over it and stuff, and like what do these
And
people?
Clayface is still in a cell.
The Clayface Easter egg is so good. He's just like, is he Quincy Sharp? And you're like, what's he doing in there? And then you turn around and you hear like that weird sound, and you turn back and it's Jim Gordon, and he's just laughing at you. But you never get to see his clay form. I was like, that's so fucking clever.
If you go into detective mode, he also has no bone. 'Cause you know when you go into detective mode, everyone has a skeleton. Yeah, you can't see his. It's just the shape of the body.
The attention to detail in this game is incredible. Like, and you could like it was a huge love letter. I think like they really loved the characters and the source material. Let's get to come on.
I know what we're talking about.
Story of the characters. Yeah, we got to do it, right?
Yeah, it was probably the finest moment in the game.
Let's talk Scarecrow.
Oh yeah.
Come on. Scarecrow, every time he came on, it was like, yes! Which I don't know if you're supposed to have that reaction.
Yeah, he is this game's, he's the Psycho Mantis of this game.
Absolutely. He shows up 3 times. There's 3 encounters with Scarecrow. I do think that's interesting as well, that not every boss fight is a fight. They're more boss encounters. And they're more built around the concept of, like, how does Batman deal with that character? Like, even Killer Croc, you don't fight him.
No.
But you go through this thing of him hunting you and being ready to kind of stave him off. But yeah, what do we think of Scarecrow?
His actual dealing with his challenge, I think, is a bit lame. The big floating Scarecrow with the Eye of Sauron hunting you down thing. I think that's lame, but it's always so random when it happens. Well, obviously, when you play the game again, it's very scripted. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But first time you're playing it, it's so random. Like just something like a little vent, just spewing out some gas, and then Batman coughs, and you're like, oh, that's kind of strange with Batman. Like the first time, I think he coughs, and you're like, that's weird. And then then it descends into that kind of madness, and then it does it again, and it gets even worse. And then, of course, there's the third time, which just scared everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to the third time. They progressively get more and more clever.
Horrifying.
The first time was good because you're looking for Gordon. Like, Gordon has gone missing. You're looking for him.
Yeah.
And then you see him get pulled off. And then you find him dead. And then you go into this morgue. And every time you try to exit the morgue, you're still in the morgue. And the doors start fucking bouncing and shit. And you're like, what the fuck kind of shit is this? And you find like the body bags and you open them and it's his parents, like, you know? And you're like, it's not done like a horror. You know, because
yes, it is. Fucking terrifying.
It's not to the level of,
Resident Evil 7.
A horror game, you know, like it's not going to absolutely terrify you, but it is creepy enough, as definitely on the edge when you look at the kind of imagery that this game has.
Yeah.
To the point where it's definitely creepy. It's creepy enough, like, and you open that third bag and then he comes out and fuck.
The kind of running around the circle thing, which is you just kind of, I suppose, coming to your senses. That's fine, but I don't really consider that the Scarecrow encounters. Like the Scarecrow encounters are the kind
hallucinations.
The hallucinations. The kind of escaping at the end thing is just a way for them to explore how is that done through gameplay. And I think it's fine. It works.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's the encounters I think are they're the highlights.
I fucking love Scarecrow's design as well.
Yeah.
The Freddy Krueger style needle glove thing, like, is sick. Like the fact that he has this big claw that he could just inject you with fear serum, and then
it's cool as well.
Is that
the office in Arkham Asylum?
Oh yeah.
It would be his lair, I guess.
Yeah, you find it underneath the fucking
an elevator shaft.
Elevator. Yeah. and there's like plans on walls, and it's got like maps of Gotham, and you're like, oh, okay then. And then there's all these like mushrooms and shit, which I suppose he possibly uses to create the fear toxin, maybe.
It would seem so.
Maybe the hallucination part comes from that. Yeah, actually, Batman's just on shrooms, man.
Yeah.
That's what's really going on. And his gas mask looks fucking sick, the way they implemented it into the kind of
Scarecrow-y looking mask.
stack thing. Yeah. It's fucking deadly. And then
And
I love
the noose
the
around
noose
his neck.
hanging off his neck. Yeah,
Ah.
perfect. And I love that the second encounter. Then we'll get to the third one.
Oh yeah.
The second encounter, I thought, was a really good way of addressing Batman's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Without outright showing it, like him experiencing the death of his parents again, but through a hallucination. A
Yeah.
really good way of just like, let's touch on Batman's origins in this game as well, but we're telling an experience. Like it's a very experienced Batman. He's been doing it for years and years and years, but using that as a moment to touch on that origin, I think, was a very clever thing to do. And it was really cool when you're walking down that hall and the hall starts swaying.
Yeah.
And then rain starts coming in, and it turns into the alleyway. Then I was like,
Yeah,
"This-
it's really
the
cool. So it's
transitions are
cool
sick."
to play it too.
Yeah, no, it is. And then you just turn into the little boy, don't you? And they have like a voice that
Yeah.
you're walking down sad, and they put in like a voiceover, like someone like, "What's he got to be sad about? He's now the richest guy in the world," you know? Like
Yeah.
all these different little outlooks that people might have about what has happened to him. And Jim Gordon then being nice to him and talking about how, look, it's just this city, there's something wrong with it, and you're like, possibly Jim Gordon inspired Bruce Wayne in this version. That's cool. Anyway, let's stop beating around the bush. The third
That fucking
Scarecrow
third encounter, man. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. Okay, so let's talk about our experiences of it. Adam, you want to tell us?
when that fucking started flickering and then it went like, was it kind of like a green screen, isn't it?
Yeah, it does that kind
it
of
went
DHD
fucking
style.
Yeah. No. What it actually does is because I experienced the red ring of death, the infamous red ring of death on the Xbox, twice,
Yes.
and that's exactly what happens when the GPU is going.
Okay, and they knew this.
It's that the screen kind of goes green.
Yeah.
And now I'm playing it on the PlayStation, and I was so shit scared that I was getting that yellow light of that the PlayStation gets, which is a very similar issue.
Yeah.
And because I experienced that on the Xbox, I was like, oh god, don't let this happen to the fucking PlayStation. Like I just was like, oh shit, and I didn't quite get off the couch, and because there's nothing you can do at that point, you know, if it's fried,
No.
it's fried.
And it happens quick enough too.
So I was just kind of sitting there in kind of shock, and then it kind of comes back on, and I'm like, oh, thank fuck. But then it's the beginning of the game again, and I'm like, oh no. Did it just after wiping my fucking save file?
Yeah.
Do I have to do all this again? But at least the PlayStation's fine. And then you realize things aren't quite right, things aren't quite what they seem, and it's just like, oh my god, this is the fucking coolest thing. This is so badass. This is like, take anything that Psycho Mantis did in Metal Gear Solid 1 and turn it to a fucking 11. This is incredible.
It was pretty genius.
Such a fine moment.
I mean, Eric, what was your experience of the?
I mean, very similar to Adam's, except for the fact I was thinking, oh fuck, did I break this on everybody? I bet, because I think I was the first one to experience it.
Gives you a different kind of fear.
Yeah, it gave me a different kind of fear. I was like, I don't want to have broken this on everybody, because you just haven't experienced it yet. But yeah, it was great. Then once it started again, then you see like Scarecrow's face on the moon rather than the bat symbol. Because the start of the bat symbol,
They
and
turned the bat symbol upside down to be like his smiley face.
yeah, and I was like, oh ho ho ho. But I remember I had to sit with you, Chris, to make sure when you were doing that scene not to turn off the console, because I was like, right, I better like reassure you on this.
Oh,
All right. Yeah. But one of my friends he was playing it at the time, and I was like, man, have you cleared it? And he was like, no, I keep getting this point, and then I get stuck, and I turn off. I'm like, what point? Oh, it's like the Scarecrow bit, like, or no, he didn't know it was the Scarecrow bit.
Right. Yeah.
He kept thinking his game was breaking, and I was telling him, no, it's not breaking. He's like, it is breaking. The screen goes weird, it goes green, and then I have to turn it off, and then I turn it back on again. Then it does it again. My game is broken. I was like, no, it's not broken. Trust me, it's not broken. Keep doing it. Right? He actually kept turning the console off, thinking the game was broken, and that kept popping up. I went, man, just let it play. Let it play. I think it's the start of the game again. It's not. Just let it play. So then he played it, and then he loved it again. But that was his experience. So when Adam, you were saying that it doesn't give you enough time to turn it off, well, this guy bet you to it. This guy like the flashy.
Well, no, I think it does give you enough time. I just saying that I didn't see the point in turning it off, because once you believe it's gone, it's gone. Like, there's not much you can do about it. But the fact that it's like, it's so clever, fourth wall breaking, just bringing that fear factor over to the gamer. It's like the one thing you absolutely fear as a gamer is that this fucking 500 to 600 quid machine you just spent money on is broken.
It was a super clever idea. Really clever. Like, because I suppose the two before were about Batman's fears and delving into his character. And this one, while once you get through it, it still does that. So in context of the story, it still works.
Yeah, it's still his.
Because it's now him
is
in
he
the
insane?
asylum, and is he insane? And he's dealing with that kind of fear, I suppose, which is a super interesting concept. But just that moment of freaking the player out is my game broken, and then no, like I remember that was my reaction really more so. I was like, oh shit, and then when I saw the moon again, well, it's the sky, I suppose you don't see the moon straight away, and the Batmobile going, and I was like, oh no, let's start again. I was like fucking raging. I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love playing that game again, but at that point I was so invested, you know what I mean? I was going forward. I was like, the last thing I want to do is do all of that again just to get to the point where I was. And then you realize it's the Scarecrow moment, and you go, oh my god, you fuckers, you got me. And I think they got everyone. What an incredible, ingenious...
It's one of the biggest highlights, I think, in video games, honestly.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it doesn't get enough. Like, those Scarecrow moments were so strong that I remember when I was playing Arkham City, all I wanted was to turn a corner and be surprised by Scarecrow one more time. And I remember, like, there is a bit where you're coughing. It's actually from the toxin, the Joker toxin that's in your blood in that game. But I was like, oh my god, here it comes, and it doesn't. And there was a couple of moments where I thought it was going to happen, and it didn't. And it just left me... don't get me wrong, I love that game, but I was like, there's a want here that's not being fulfilled. Like,
definitely a huge miss opportunity with the third one then, just because he is one of the main villains in it.
I think so. Like, there's a very clever thing I thought they did with hallucinations that I fucking love. I absolutely love.
Yeah,
some
they're
people don't.
amazing.
I think it's incredible. It sells that game for me. But
it's not from Scarecrow, really.
There should have been a moment, especially towards the end, with Scarecrow.
Yeah.
With maybe all these like freak out hallucinations from the previous games or something, so that you're also getting like a tie up of the experience as you're coming to that final battle. But yeah, it's weird that they didn't do something else with Scarecrow in that last game. Given enough, legendary.
The only other Arkham game that does kind of something similar is the VR one.
Yeah.
That one does play with, but again, it's not Scarecrow. It's still kind of Joker toxin stuff, but
yeah,
it still is a bit of a trip.
It's fucking wild, man.
Yeah, it's wacky
out.
No.
But yeah, I mean,
VR is good actually.
The Arkham VR is good. It's very good. It's not good to watch, but it's good to play. Oh my god, when you look
the fact that they got the two voice actors for those really, like, that really small game, like the fact they actually got him back for it was.
I love how every time Mark Hamill does something, he says, "This is the last time I'm doing the Joker," and they always get him back. They always get him back.
I think there was one time
when he's dead, they get him back.
after Arkham Knight, like, he was like, "Oh, like, I won't ever do Joker again unless they do the Killing Joke." And then they went, "Guess what? We're doing the Killing Joke." And he's like, oh, shit.
And I don't think, yeah, and I don't think he's too happy with how it turned out actually. But I don't think anyone is.
Well, his performance wasn't even that great in it, like, because
No,
you can kind of tell there's a bit of a,
don't
I don't
want
know,
to be here.
there's something missing
Something
from that
strange
performance.
about it, yeah. There's a bit of push.
Kevin Conroy was great. Now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I think Kevin gives it 100% whether he likes it or not. To be fair to him, like even like
He's all in.
in the wackiest Justice League stuff, like even he sings "Am I Blue" as Batman, and it's beautiful. And it's a wacky idea, but you know he does it. Batman doing karaoke, like he should be like, no, that he would never do karaoke. That's a stupid idea, but he goes for it. He's got a beautiful voice. Okay, so one thing I wanted to talk about, another character I wanted to talk about, because I think she plays a huge role in the Arkham games, and it's really interesting in this game that she's your point of contact. Oracle.
Your Otacon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oracle.
It's so interesting because
Paramedic.
you would think you're going to have Alfred, right? Alfred's sort of the obvious point of contact for Batman generally. Why do you think they went with Oracle?
Well, didn't they say that this was supposed to be the latest story in the Batman, like whether it's the animated series or the comics? This is supposed to be the latest one. So everything that happened previously, like, actually happened, and this is the latest adventure. I think they kind of scrapped that once they went with the second game and so on.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's why they were wanting to keep Conroy and Hamill, because they wanted to continue the story. So if they're going to continue the story, then it has to be Oracle, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it could be Alfred. So
Also,
Is
Alfred is in it though, isn't he?
no, he's not.
Oh,
Alfred made his first voice appearance in City.
ah.
Maybe there was an element of, I don't know, but it was cool. Not gonna lie, it was really cool to have Oracle. Although first time I think we were playing the demo. I think Chris, you were playing the demo, and I wanted to watch you because I wanted to see your experience, because I definitely played the demo first. And when Oracle came on the radio thing, you were like, "Oh my god, Oracle! That's so cool!" And I was like, "Who the fuck is Oracle?" You have to explain to me who that was.
All right, yeah.
Maybe it's just for a sense of diversity, though, and just to show, like what I'm saying, the journey that they have all gone. That as a fan, you now know that this is Batman's not going to be recruiting Barbara or Robin or anything. All that has happened.
Yeah.
So maybe
She does add another dynamic though as well, where just, you know, she knows Bruce in a different way that Alfred would know him, and her connection, her fear of the Joker because of what happened to her, and also her connection with her father, so wanting to save him from.
I think those story points are the reason Oracle is your point of contact in this game, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, so if Jim Gordon's there, your point of contact is not just giving you information and giving you kind of access to the outside world, but is really invested in what's going on with where you are. Obviously, Alfred cares, but Alfred also always has sort of a sense of humor and sort of a way of looking at things of like, just, I need to just keep you on your toes sort of thing with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Oracle, she's younger, she could still drop her guard a little bit, her emotions could still get in the way, and then as well she's like super intelligent, so she can offer, like, I think of all of his sidekicks, Barbara Gordon is probably the one closest to Batman in terms of intelligence.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. Someone might say Tim Drake, because Tim Drake is also more of like a detective in terms of the Robins. But I do think, like, Barbara Gordon, like, she becomes Oracle. She literally becomes like an information broker and a surveillance camera on crime in Gotham. So I think she's definitely, in terms of intelligence, she's up there. But just having that history with Joker, so really fearing what he could be doing and what he's up to, and then also being worried about her father, makes her less of just a voice in your head and more of an actual character who's actually, in a way, is present.
Yeah.
So for me, that really works. Like, it kind of works. It's kind of like the whole Naomi thing in Metal Gear Solid. Like,
yeah, very like
Naomi
that.
becomes a stronger character because there's something that's actually happening there that she's invested in, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's just Metal Gear all over this game, bro. I love it.
and in the best way possible. Yeah, in a really good way. Is there a part of the game that's your favorite part of the game, Eric? Well, I suppose apart from, because let's be honest, that Scarecrow moment steals the show. Is the show stealer. It's just incredible, and one of the greatest fourth wall breaks in gaming history. But apart from that, then, just in the overall game, is there like a segment, or anything like that that's your favorite part of the game?
Who are you asking first?
Any of yous
All right.
first. Anyone who wants to throw something in there.
I really like, it's not my favorite moment, but we haven't mentioned it, and I was at the end. The use of Scarface was very entertaining.
Super
That
entertaining.
was very entertaining.
Yeah,
It's like
really
when you
good.
go in, you find Jim Gordon, they have all the weird mannequin things, and Joker is sitting there on the chair, and I'm just going to be talking so that I can think of something. That's my favorite scene. But this is when he's sitting there and he's like mimicking like Scarface's voice. It's very funny. And he
It's
has
great
like
that
the
he was
smile.
scared the whole time as well, isn't it? Like the Joker was always monitoring from that throne room, so to speak.
Yeah, that's cool because if you go in there and you can see
The television on his head.
television on his head, but it turns out that's I suppose the twist is that he's there. That's where he's actually broadcasting from the whole time. It's cool.
He has like the smile painted on Scarface's face as well.
Yeah.
Favorite moment probably has to be one of the beat. Yeah. Actually, it's not like any bit of a story mechanic. It's just very satisfying once you're finished. You know what? It's near the end of the game. I think it's you're essentially going back up to the surface. You're down in the sewers. You go into a room. There's 3 elevators. And I think you're to go back up to the surface to essentially defeat the Joker. Or maybe to fight Poison Ivy, one or the other. And the elevators just keep opening. And it's just round of all these enemies coming out to fight you.
Oh,
and even
I know the one you
Titans
mean.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And you just keep kicking the shit out of them. And then you get on the Titans and using the Titans to whack everybody. It's just so satisfying when you get that free flow. Like when you're up to like 30 or 40 hits in a row. And you're just jumping and zipping around the place. And you're just countering everybody and breaking their limbs. Not that that's a fun thing to do, but in real life, but it's fun in the game. Don't do that in real life, kids.
Life advice from Eric.
Life advice from me. But that's really satisfying, especially by the end, and you just have all the bodies everywhere, and you're just like, I did that.
Yeah.
And now I'm just gonna walk in that elevator and go up and continue like nothing even happened.
I am.
That's a very satisfying moment. I'll choose that.
How about you, Adam?
I just have like kind of favorite moments, I guess, rather than a single moment, because like the things that I love the most about the game is the solving the kind of Riddler clues and stuff. So and you're learning about the characters. So whether it's Ratcatcher stuff in Event, or it's
Wow.
like the Humpty Dumpty kind of
holy shit
seesaw thing. It's the Mad Hatter's little tea set. And I think the highlight for me is probably Amadeus Arkham's cell.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's really
sick.
cool.
Yeah. And just seeing all those like circles and stuff.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, they do something really interesting with those, the Spirit of Arkham side quest, which is that I don't know, side quest kind of seems wrong in this setting, but in a way it is. But like at first, those voices, it's very clearly describing the sort of the journals of Arkham from the comics, or at least it seems to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it gets closer and closer to like the end result, you start realizing, no wait, this guy's talking about now. And
yeah, because you start to describe the Joker and stuff.
Yeah, and he's talking about Poison Ivy, so that can't be. What's he talking? And then you realize it's actually Quincy Sharp, and he actually wants to kill all of the inhabitants of Arkham Asylum. Like those are some of his inner thoughts and everything. And then you find his secret room, if you find it.
Yep.
And it has all these maps and plans for Arkham City. and what he wants to do and how he wants to get away crime and everything and basically build a concentration camp in Gotham. And you're like, holy shit, this guy is actually fucked up. What's going on? Yeah, that's all really cool. I think it's for me trying to pick out a moment. Like again, the Scarecrow stuff is stuff that steals the show, but it's hard to pick a single moment because it's all the little happenings along the way, I think, that make the game so special, and that pace it so well. But there's a bit where Joker has like hostages, well, like there's like a bomb attached to them or something. You have to like go find the bomb. You're like in the library, I think, and there's a timer. And you're going and he's egging you on. Yeah. And it turns out the timer means like you can't see the timer. You can just hear the clock ticking. Yeah. So, and it gets faster and faster as you're getting closer, and you start freaking out. And you're like, where the fuck is the bomb? And it turns out there isn't. It's not going to go off at all. It's just one of those moments where I was like, oh, fuck you, Joker. You know, he's really messing with you. There's just loads of moments like that, and then moments of him on the intercom talking to you or taunting his men, or all those kind of bits I think are my favorite parts of the game. The way the Joker kind of freaks you out and fucks at you. I suppose since we're doing like a deep dive into this game, and we're talking about it very positively, so maybe we have no critiques, but do we have any critiques? Is there anything about this game we don't particularly like?
The size of the moon. It's very unrealistic.
It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? It's fucking...
Like, if it was that big, alright, all Gotham would be flooded by, like, the tidal waves and stuff. It's ridiculous, man. So unrealistic.
Do you not think there's a story reason as to why the... Sorry. Do you not think there's a story reason as to why the moon is so big? Because they say when the moon is, like, really big and bright in the sky, it drives people crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Did they say that?
Yeah. So thematically...
That works. That's actually pretty clever. Now I love the size of the moon.
Glad I could change your mind. Do we have any genuine criticisms or critiques about the game? Maybe you don't.
I think I'm not necessarily a fan of the extra game content. You know, like outside of the main story, there's the kind of the
challenges and everything.
Challenges.
Oh, the challenge modes and stuff. Yeah.
I didn't really like them. I didn't really find them that fun.
Like really trying to pick that has nothing to do with the main game. It's like this thing right here that I never tried out. I didn't like that.
Do you know the stuff that's not in the game? That's all the stuff I don't like. Hate that.
I mean, Scarecrow's voice is a bit lame.
I think it works in this game, but okay, fair enough.
I mean, yeah, it works on the fact that he's a secondary villain, and thank God they because if they had kept that voice actor for Arkham Knight, he wouldn't be as threatening or as menacing. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think he could have been, but if you put John Noble on the table, then you go, oh no, yeah, let's take John Noble. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
John Noble's voice is incredible.
The voice works as like I'm the side villain. I'm going to be a boss later. Sort of voice.
You like men.
But I also could do without listening to his voice as well.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that adds again to my like little don't really like those circle moments because it's like ooh little bat, ooh, where are you now? And it's like, oh, shut up, Scarecrow.
This is like giving him a smack. Get in your cell. Shut up with you. Come on, Crane.
Take your ketamine. Get out of here.
There's only two things about the game I don't particularly like. And they're both just designs. So they're not really, it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the game all that much. But I don't really like I think a lot of the characters are designed really well. But I don't particularly like Bane or Killer Croc. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me, but for me, Bane just looked beyond believable for me to a point where it's like there's jacked up, and then there's his legs look muscly, but the rest of him
almost like a comic book supervillain or something.
Almost, yeah,
Great.
almost like fantasy or something, you know. No, I just thought it was weird, like, because they kind of went for the Joel Schumacher thing, where when there's no venom in him, he's this drained, skinny fucking guy.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense. And then
That is how he went, though.
no, it's not.
It is, bruh. He became so reliant on the venom.
Yeah, no, I know, but there's no reason he should be that thin when the venom is taken out of him.
It's not like
Just
one
stop,
of those things.
because when you take that much venom, you just stop lifting, bruh.
You know what I mean, bro?
Oh.
Adam knows because he's 2 months off venom at this point.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Well, yes. Well done, Adam, as well. I must say.
Yeah.
Fair
Well
play.
done, being off your venom.
Difficult to give up.
Yeah, but admitting you had a problem with venom was the first step. Yeah, no, I for me, I don't particularly like the Bane design. Doesn't ruin it or anything. I like the involvement of the character and I like the way he's implemented into the story. But I love the bit when he uses the Batmobile actually to fucking launch into Bane and send him into the water to literally just go, I have no time for you right now.
Yeah.
This time I break you. Like he gives him a cool line and jumps off him, and I was like, yeah, you fucking do. That bit's great. And then Killer Croc, similarly, I just think he's too big. And as a result, I didn't get that kind of scary predator hunting me thing.
Yeah.
It just looked like a very big hulking monster as opposed to, I just think if he was a bit smaller.
I think Croc has a
bit
problem
scarier.
in general, though. You know, like even in the comics, he doesn't really have a good reason to be that big or that monstrous. You know, he's supposed to be a dude with a fucking weird skin condition, like.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think he should be that big. Like that.
Yeah.
That's why I do think a smaller version of the character that's a little bit more human.
The one from Arkham Origins, like,
would be scarier. That one does work a bit better for me. It's still a bit weird. There's still something like his
well,
shoulder.
that's because he's like, yeah.
He has no neck or something. His shoulders, like literally, there's like a triangle that just go to the side of his head. Is a weird design. But yes, I can get on board with that one a little bit.
The
more.
Arkham Knight one, I think, is the worst, isn't it? Because he's got the tail.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Isn't it supposed to be though that
damn.
whatever condition he has, it keeps evolving. So that's why, like, he starts off small, then he got the big, and he gets the tail with the huge spikes, and he looks like a crocodile.
yeah, but it gets to the point where it's like it just looks like a big fat thing, as opposed to, I don't know. I just think he could be scarier if they'd given him a smaller design.
If he actually was like a crocodile and he'd like fucking waddle at you as he's coming for you, and you have
Well,
to run in zigzags.
I don't know what I want, but I suppose
Maybe you just don't want
I
Killer
just
Croc.
don't want him. Okay, Killer Croc.
Let's
Oh, I like
face it, that whole game would have been much
10 out of 10 if they just didn't have Killer Croc.
if they had Man Bat instead.
Hey, fucking man bat. You did get him in the end.
I did. Very happy about that.
Yeah.
The only thing
Good.
you
Best,
like Arkham
best
Knight.
thing about Arkham Knight.
Man Bat.
Man bat. You probably do think that. That probably is your favorite thing. about Arkham Knight. I don't care. I love Arkham Knight. I should have said, actually, while we were talking about the Arkham games, I put it into a comment, but when we were talking about underappreciated games,
Yep.
Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight, for me, actually, I should have said them, and I didn't say them at the time, but I think they're underappreciated.
Well, then those opinions don't count.
Do you not
Sorry,
think?
Chris.
I agree with Origins being underappreciated just because it is kind of like put under the radar. But do you not think some of the criticisms of Knight are justified?
Yeah, I didn't say they weren't. I just said I think the game is underappreciated.
Well, how can you underappreciate a game that has so many issues?
Because I don't think those issues make the game a write-off. For me, they don't. I love that game.
Yeah.
But I agree that the issues are there. And if someone says, I hate the Batmobile, I was like, I'm 100% with you, man. I'm 100% with you. The Batmobile, like, there's times where the Batmobile is great, and then the tank mode is fucking stupid, and the stealth tank battles is fucking stupid. So what they were thinking. Fucking stupid. But I've heard many people who
Tankman
say
begins.
the game is terrible because of that. And I was
It
like,
is.
For me, it's not. For me, it's really not. I think there's so much good stuff in there. So much good stuff in there.
I think it really hit me. Somehow I managed to play the whole game, not really having that much of a problem with the Batmobile. It just really hit me afterwards, and you're cleaning up the Arkham Knights like infantry and stuff.
Oh yeah.
When you had to fight Deathstroke in a tank, and I was like, okay, no, fuck off. Like Deathstroke should be Arkham Origins fight here again.
100% agree. That's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Why would Deathstroke use a tank? He just wouldn't.
I mean, he could have literally thrown an EMP, shut down the Batmobile. Batman has to get out, and then that's why you fight him, and there you go.
Yeah.
No fucking tank shit. So that's actually when it really hit me. So actually, I had no problem with stealth tank battles. Bring me more stealth tank battles. I want Batmobile to go into stealth.
I do them to get to the next bit of the game. They don't stop me from playing the game at all, but they're not fun. And they're weird. I don't know why.
Give me. I hope actually in the Batman, Riddler challenges Batman to have to do a racetrack. I hope that'd be great.
Yeah,
probably will.
Yeah,
that's why for me, Asylum is the best out of all of them, because there's not a single moment in the game that I think isn't fun. I cannot say that about any other game in the series.
Yes, I think Asylum is the most consistent. Of the series. And as well, for me, it opened up like all these possibilities. Like I was so interested in seeing, because like the Arkham take on these characters was so cool, especially like Scarecrow, that I was like, I can't wait to see what these other characters look like in the Arkham world. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, I can't wait to see Arkham's version of Two-Face or Arkham's version of Catwoman or whatever. And for the most part, for most of the characters, I was pretty satisfied. Like the designs are solid. When they get to City at night or whatever.
They aced Victor Freeze for it.
Oh, Freeze.
For both versions, Arkham's City and Arkham Knight, I think they did really well for him twice.
Yeah.
I suppose just one other thing that we often do talk about with the other games, like, so we've talked about the characters, the story, gameplay, all fun, all awesome. But never talked about the music. How do we feel about the music to Arkham Asylum?
Really, really good, but I think it could have been better with the inclusion of the animated series soundtrack.
Oh hell yeah! That makes everything better.
Their version of the main theme kind of sounds like it though. It is like a rendition.
It is a good theme. It is a good theme.
But it would be nice to have the. It's one of those ones where I'm a bit like, include the animated original Batman theme in this one is fine. Including it in like the new DC stuff doesn't work. But yeah.
I found that the score like in gameplay worked really well. Especially all those like technical bits and everything when you're up on gargoyles, and I thought all that was really cool, and the mood and atmosphere was pretty fucking perfect throughout the game. So it's not like a score that I would listen to outside of the game.
I would.
But I think it works in game. I do think that main theme was improved upon in Arkham City.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, now I would listen to it outside of the game. I was like, wow. But yeah, I think the score is fine. It's very serviceable. And then the graphics, I suppose we have to look at for its time.
The stylization of it, I think, works again with the idea of it being a continuation of the comics. Like everything is big, everything is bulky, everything's like almost ridiculous. Like the doorways are for fucking giants in that game, and then the hallways are like, are they like, did the gods build these buildings? Like this is fucking ridiculous. And then again, the moon is massive, but it works with the style.
The fucking moon, man.
I can only imagine what the sun is like when it rises, if it ever does.
Gotham City, man. Fuck me, it's quite bright in the summer.
But so I think stylization it worked really well.
Yeah.
Color tones and everything.
Well, people are really jacked in Gotham, it seems. Like,
oh yeah,
everyone is incredibly muscly.
Everyone is
Unreal Engine at its finest. Everyone with giant feet.
Do you know what I love as well? Actually, something that we should touch on. By the end of the game, the state of your cape and costume.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, just the cape in general, like
using that as first of all the cape. Why have we not talked about the cape? The fucking cape. Oh my god.
It's The cape is the best character in the game, like.
I don't know how they made a cape a highlight in a game, but they fucking did. Yeah, sorry. After Scarecrow, the cape is the other highlight. Holy shit, just gliding and watching, and like they consistently keep the cape fucking awesome throughout the games. But yeah, like it was noticeable. It was really noticeable.
It made you feel like Batman.
But yeah, I love the way it gets tattered that by the end of the game, looking at the state of your character shows how far you've come and your kind of progression throughout the night. This is also probably the only game. Well, Arkham City, it kind of works, but in the Arkham franchise, I really, one criticism I do have of some of the other ones in terms of the story is that they seem insistent on stating this whole thing is happening over one night.
Yeah.
That's at its most ridiculous in Arkham Origins, if I'm being honest. There's 2 breakouts in Blackgate all in the one night, and even Joker getting incarcerated in Blackgate all in the one night. It's like, well, he'd go to hold himself first, then he has to go to court, and like that, you don't just go to jail. That's not how it works. It's not like a game of fucking Monopoly. But but Arkham Asylum works perfectly as a one bad night in this place. Like the story is, it's pretty perfect. Like the setting is perfect. And the gadgets,
Wonderful
toys. They're fucking great. You just push your little arrow directional buttons, pull up your exploding gel or your batarangs or whatever, and use them for all the different problems and solving problems. And that whole Metroidvania thing of getting new gadgets to access new areas of the asylum that you couldn't get to earlier to get all the collectibles, and it's like a wonderful Rubik's Cube that you're solving as you play it. It's fucking great.
Yeah. And I love that he has a little, like, for story reasons I don't like it, but at the same time I do think it's awesome that he has his own little Batcave on the island to
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it also I think
it's cool that you get to go to the Batcave.
Yeah, and I think they were probably trying to focus a balance there where they were like, obviously technically it doesn't really make sense to have a Batcave here, but also what do players want? Like, you know, I'm gonna say no to going into a Batcave? No, you're not. Let's be honest.
I mean, the only other one you ever do go to the Batcave is Arkham Origins. So for 2 other games, Rocksteady did go, no, we're not going to go to the Batcave. Arkham Knight, nah, you don't need to go to Batcave. Here's a Batmobile.
Yeah, well, I suppose you used your clock tower as your base of operations in that one.
Yeah.
In Arkham City, I suppose it would have made no sense if he had a base of operations within Arkham City.
No, because how could he predict that?
Because he's Batman.
Well, yeah, no, he found that secret room. He so should have predicted that. He found the room with all the plans. He should have been like, I need to prepare for this. This is going to happen.
He did. He prepared politically by voting. Like a good citizen.
Voted and got himself arrested. Maybe at another point we will talk about some of the other Arkham games in greater detail than the small mentions that they got before. But Arkham Asylum is an incredible game. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it. It's super fun, very creative, awesome characters, and that Scarecrow moment. Mwah.
Sorry for ruining on you.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Don't play it. Yeah. Is there anything else that we need to say? I thought I had something else on my mind, but I feel like we've pretty much covered everything in terms of our own thoughts on the game. I will say, I don't know if I said it earlier, I think the Riddler challenges are at their best in this game.
Definitely, yeah.
I know a lot of people enjoyed the very many ones in Arkham City. I was replaying Arkham City recently, and I think it's an incredible game, but I just think the map is so ugly, and I like all the Monarch Theater and Crime Alley and all those streets and all, but seeing the amount of fucking green trophies and green question marks on buildings and little balls with green question marks inside them, and it's fucking everywhere. You just look around, and even before Riddler has actually come into the story, your map is just littered with it, and you're like, this would be so much better if this stuff was concealed indoors and in places and stuff, because the map looks fucking disgusting. Like, just
yeah, and I did find that in Asylum,
from the look.
in Asylum, it's a little bit more based on solving riddles rather than challenges. I mean, there's a few challenges, but it's mostly here's a question, can you solve it? How clever are you?
And it was, I thought it was a really good way of doing the whole riddle thing. And like you just scan the thing that would be the answer to the riddle. But you do have to kind of solve it for yourself. Really clever. I like Rocksteady were an unknown studio, and this game put them on the map. It's super clever, everything that they did, really.
Yeah, they've been pretty rock steady with their stuff so far.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone agrees all the time, but I think they have.
Look, just let me have this pun.
Let me have it. But those are our thoughts on Batman Arkham Asylum. If you've played it, do let us know what you thought of the game. And how do you feel about the Arkham franchise as a whole? What way would you tier them? Adam has said that this one is his favorite. I don't know which one's my favorite, to be honest, but I do think this one is the tidiest of them. I do think it's the tightest one. Eric, very quickly, do you have a favorite in the series? Could you say for definite there's one that is my favorite? Or?
No, but like you, Chris, I'm going to dodge the bullet here and say that I don't know which one's my favorite.
Okay. That's just because you don't like the question, though.
I don't like the question.
You just love all the games. I just don't know which one's my favorite, but I might come to
same answer.
Yeah, fuck off. But those are our thoughts about Arkham Asylum.
Well, you should do a tiered your favorite list. We've done that with literally everything else.
I'll try. I find it really hard because there's some of them where I'm like, this one the gameplay is the most fun, and then this one the story is the tightest, and in this one the setting and the setup is the most interesting. And I don't know, I find it really hard to. This is a franchise where it's really weird because with most of them, I do find it really easy to go, that's my absolute favorite. Like even Metal Gear Solid, which is my favorite video game series, I'm able to say the first one is my favorite. And with the Arkham series, I genuinely don't know. I know which one is my least favorite, which is unfortunate. But I do think it's I wouldn't write it off. A lot of people write it off, and I don't think it's a terrible game. I actually think it's really good. But unfortunately, it's only good in its story beats. That map is horrible, and the free play is horrible. But yeah, those other three games, I don't know. I don't know which one's my favorite.
Madness.
Yeah, welcome to the madhouse. Anyway, those are our thoughts on Batman Arkham Asylum. Do get in touch. Let us know what your favorite Arkham game is. Let us know what you think about this game. How did you feel when you got that Scarecrow moment? And yeah, jump into the comments or get in touch on social media at The Brothers Take, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.